right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. 7 nights a week, we're on the air taking your calls. This time, this station, 7 nights a week. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. I'm joined tonight, as always on Monday, by Andrew Fillipponi up at 93.7 The Fan. After the Steelers lose the game 31-28, got off to a good start, up 14-7, but their defense, which was supposed to be historic, is being historically bad in many ways, letting up big plays over the middle of the field, and that was the killer yesterday. 3 of their 4 touchdowns in the middle of the field, while they pretty much ignored the middle of the field. It's something we've been harping on around here for a long time, Andrew. I know you have too. But at some point, it's got to change because they're not having the kind of success. And here's the other thing, and of all the numbers you can look at, this one stood out to me, that at this point, it looks like Kenneth Gainwell may end up the season as your best receiver in terms of yards and catches. It's not designed to be that way. He's not even the starting running back. So your take on what you saw yesterday.
Well, the Steelers did a lot of things that they thought they needed to do to win the game. They did not lose the turnover battle. That was played even. They outgained the Bears. They had more total yards in the game. They had way more rushing yards in the game. They averaged 5 yards a carry or near that, and the Bears were held to around 3.9. I mean, those are the types of things they thought were going to be vital to winning the game, and yet they lost, I think, in large part because their offense is limited to short throws and never using the middle of the field, ironically, until the last drive. At that juncture, the Bears said, please take the middle of the field because you have no timeouts and the clock will run. And the Steelers in a 2-minute drill were throwing 2-yard passes, which I've never seen before. I've seen it maybe when a guy is under pressure and just needs to get rid of the ball, but they willingly threw the ball 2 yards to DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin in that final sequence with no timeouts in the middle of the field. It was mind-boggling to me. They threw one ball that was completed over 10 yards in the entire game, and that was to Ben Skoranek early on. You had J.J. Watt, whose brother is on the team, ripping the Steelers' offensive scheme for the vast majority of the second half and how they never used the middle of the field and throw the ball beyond the stick. So I think that kind of very predictable offense and conservative offense did them in this game. The fact that they were facing a Bears defense that was without all its linebackers, they had given up, I think, the second most yards to tight ends this year. And we didn't see tight ends used in the middle of the field, Bob, unless it was a jet sweep to Jonnu Smith during the game. Which
is strange in so many ways. They brought him here after he had 88 catches in Miami. They schemed him open down there. What's the deal here, especially, as you said, with a defense that was very limited? Even of the 6 starters that they had out, the backups got banged up and left the game as well, which leads us to our KDKA.com/connect poll of the night, brought to you by Penn West University. And did the Steelers make a mistake in trading George Pickens? Yes and no. And boy, he had another one of those games yesterday, 9 for 9 in targets, 146 yards, a touchdown. You can argue he's the best, or at least second best to Jackson Smith and Jigma, Andrew, right now. And again, I don't know if he would have had the success here because you got to scheme for him to be open and scheme for him to do it. But I really would have liked to have seen Metcalf and Pickens on the same field at the same time to see what that could do for everyone else on that team, not just them, if they had schemed them right.
Well, the scheme thing's a big part of it. I mean, they made him run go balls all day. And very rarely did he do anything other than that. I think he got sick of it. I think he didn't trust the quarterbacks to get him the ball. I think what ended up happening was it created more of a toxic relationship. Look, the guy still does a lot of sophomoric and juvenile things. He misses team buses. He stays out too late. He doesn't go to team meetings. There's a lot of Antonio Brown in there. And what I used to say about George Pickens here in Pittsburgh was that you got the shenanigans and the headache of an Antonio Brown, but you didn't get the production. Well, now he's got the production part down pat too. And the Cowboys would not have come back and won that game without him yesterday. So you only trade him if you've got a viable plan B, okay? And their plan B was to just take a third-round pick in next year's draft And they never came close, Bob, to finding a facsimile of Pickens at all. Free agency, trades, the draft in April. I mean, they could have taken a wide receiver earlier in last April's draft. They could have taken one over Derek Harmon if they wanted to. They could have taken one in the 3rd round of the draft instead of not taking one at all and relying on Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson to be the guys who step up. But you see DK Metcalf, Bob, again, 22 yards. He has not had 50 yards in a game since week 6.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's not all on him.
No, that's what I'm talking about. When you have athletes of this caliber, you know that's what you're supposed to base your game plan around. Figure out ways to enhance their skills to put them in a position where they can help you. And it didn't seem like that was happening with Pickens. And hopefully it expands the role here of DK Metcalf because they really need him going forward. All right, we're going to take a break on that note. We got plenty of callers, as you would expect. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff going on in Pittsburgh sports, like the Pitt Panthers, who are 1 win away, maybe, of making it to the ACC championship game. Can they do it? We'll get into that and more as we continue right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week, KDKA+. All right, this is our Xfinity tweet of the night from Ben Fennell, NFL.
God.
And this struck me as completely crazy. I thought at first it might have been fake, but the Steelers did not complete a pass over 20 air yards in the month of November. 4 games, 0 for 11, 2 touchdowns. Jameis Winston had 5 of those against Detroit yesterday. I thought the one with Ben Skoranek went for 21, but then we look back at it. Andrew actually in the air went 18 yards, and then upon being tackled, he was pushed 3 yards ahead to make it 21 yards. When I saw that, I thought that could not be true, but I suppose it is, because I looked at some of the numbers too, and I didn't see anything that made that untrue. It looked like it's true. I'm just shocked to see those kinds of numbers.
Bob, I still cannot get over the 2-minute drill offense. I mean, you got on the fringe of field goal range. You ran 2 plays. One was Calvin Austin, like a slant route that was 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. And Chicago, I think, begged you to throw the ball to him so he could catch it, and then they could tackle him in bounds. And then DK Metcalf, right after that, gets off the line of scrimmage, runs immediately inside, no depth to the route at all. And you had to then rush your, 4th down decision. You couldn't actually, a lot of people have asked, why didn't Tomlin kick the ball there with Boswell? And that was one of the questions I had in the moment. But my understanding of things from the people I've talked to about it is that kicker ball is so important for those long field goals, and you can't get the K ball on the field when you don't have, it was 4th down. They had no timeouts. They couldn't clock the ball. So they had to use the ball that was on the field, and they didn't think Boswell from that distance, 64 yards or whatever it was, could make it. But if you had better late game execution, say you catch a ball out of bounds, maybe Boswell does try from that distance, Bob. And honestly, I would rather have seen him from 60-plus yards than, the Steelers try to complete a 4th down conversion.
Another part of this game was the tush push that did not work, even though I thought it was wrong, and it did work. And I wonder why replay assistants have been more active in these kinds of situations. But that was a chance to kick a field goal. It would have been much easier and would have made it a 10-point game.
No doubt.
So what are you holding out for?
Well, here's what I'm saying about that, though. Tomlin couldn't throw a challenge flag there.
Certainly.
Where was that?
Should have been out there.
That to me should have been a question after the game for him. It's the first half, okay? You can use a timeout to challenge a call in the first half, lose the timeout. It's not the end of the world. You're not hoarding those timeouts for late game situations where you need to stop the clock. That was a huge play in that game. The overhead shot that they had on CBS clearly showed that Hayward got it, and you heard the whistle come in late afterwards. That was not a forward progress situation. They just felt like he didn't get it. So to me, that was an obvious opportunity for Tomlin to throw a red flag there and force the officials to go under the hood and take a look at that.
Absolutely, but also could have been a replay assist situation. They get in their ears of those guys all the time for different things. You could have just moved it. The spot, I've seen this happen a lot over the course of this season, where the spot changes based on some contact they had from New York. So they could have done it then, too, because it was egregiously bad. It was the wrong call, and then Chicago goes in down the field and scores. All right, we got a lot of callers. Let's get right to them with our number 1 Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night. That begins with Dave in Ohio. Dave, welcome to the Sports Call. Go ahead. Dave, don't listen to the television, please. Dave. All right.
Dave, speaking of Dave, and I could hear us in the background there, Bob. You sound good, by the way.
So
Why didn't Tomlin call a timeout before the illegal formation play started?
Well, he had.
Where
he
was
could have, yes. I mean, the quarterback could notice it, and I think Aaron Rodgers did, but he's of no use over there. He can't do anything about it. Mason Rudolph could have called it, but certainly it could have come from Tomlin or the staff or somebody. If they noticed that, and that was a big play, it wiped out a 20-yard gain, which, at the time was a big play.
And I've gotten mixed feedback on this. Some quarterbacks I've talked to say, yeah, like I would check to see where the guys were lined up. Others are like, there's a million things going on. I'm not looking to see if every one of my wide receivers is lined up correctly.
Right, it's on wide receivers also. They have to take some of the blame.
That's what
here.
I mean.
You have to know your P's and Q's on this details. They talk about it all the time. And they didn't. So, I mean, it was just.
No, they did not.
That's a bad situation as it arose. Let's go to Eric in Mount Lebanon. Eric, thank you for joining us tonight. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey,
actually, you're going to be our number one Cochran Go Run Better caller tonight because Dave didn't answer his phone. Or at least he was not paying attention. So I'm glad you did. Go ahead.
Thank you. I know the AFC is wide open and all, but, I mean, is it really safe to say, like, that the Steelers are, like, a threat in this race?
Well, at this point, they don't look like a team that can be one of those teams. But I wouldn't be surprised. This is the way their season has gone, where they get a team in here like they did with Indianapolis, when they play up and play a meaningful game against a really good team. And I think Buffalo still is a really good team, even though they're struggling. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game and then all of a sudden go to 7-5, which that big game against the Ravens. But at this point, they have too many issues they need to fix. You heard T.J. Watt. He looked very frustrated to me when we did our postgame show,
he did.
Andrew. He was really, almost resigned to the fact that there are no fixes coming, even though he keeps talking about fixes. But we're week 13 now. If you're going to have fixes, they should have been addressed by now.
I agree with you. I had the same reaction watching him back. And then Patrick Queen's comments after the game I thought were interesting, too, in terms of schematic things that he said could have been corrected at halftime and weren't. Look, I give them a very good chance of beating the Bills. Buffalo right now is wide receiver problems that are probably even worse than the Steelers, and their defense is really injured, and I'm not sure it was that good in the first place. So that's a very winnable game, which would create, obviously, the following week, a massive matchup between the Steelers and Ravens, the first time those two teams play this year. I mean, this is the nature of the AFC this season, where you've got teams with really good records like New England and Denver, but no one really takes either team that seriously. Maybe a little bit more New England, but I watched their game yesterday, Bob. They had one offensive touchdown against the Bengals. Can you believe that?
Against that defense, yes.
In the entire game, exactly. So I thought they actually, at many, if Joe Flacco plays like he did against the Steelers, the Bengals would have blown him out. He actually had a horrible game, threw a pick six that was blatant. So they're getting Joe Burrow back, and hey, maybe Joe Burrow can step up and beat the Ravens Thursday night. That's not out of the question. Yeah. I think Lamar Jackson lately has looked way less than 100%, and they honestly do not have the weapons in the passing game to make up for him being such a limited dual-threat quarterback.
Maybe so, but can Joe Burrow tackle? Because they need people on defense to make plays. They're also going to be without T. Higgins. He's one of his best targets. That's a long layoff to come back to and not have him around. So we'll see. That's a big game on Thursday night. And whatever happens there, the Ravens will have some extra time preparing for the Steelers the following week. Back to the lines we go, and that is Jim in Sewickley. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you today?
We're good. What's on your mind?
Well, I was talking about Pickens and his production in Pittsburgh, whether he would have done the same thing that he's doing now if he would have stayed. And my view is that with the quarterback play that we have and the offensive play calling from our offensive coordinator, there's no way that he'd have the same production he's having down in Dallas.
Well, then basically then it was their deficiencies in certain areas that limited him in spreading his wings like he's able to do down in Dallas, because the guy has a lot of talent, and there are a lot of diva wide receivers in the NFL. I could put up with that if I got this kind of production, and for years Antonio Brown provided that kind of production, which is why they put up with some of the nonsense. So you still need big players, and if you have them with freakish talent, if you watch that game, and I know you did, Andrew, because you watched just about everything, I tried to, man, those catches were significant. They were double covered. He went up, he high-pointed him. He does a lot of good for that team, and I think right now he's their number one receiver, even over CeeDee Lamb, who has a case of the drops.
And it's not just all bombs. It's short, intermediate, long. It's down the sideline, straight line, in route, outs. I mean, he's doing it all for them. You know, I don't think that's to say he wouldn't be doing that here. I agree. But that doesn't mean that it was a good trade or that they were justified in doing it. Really, all he would need to do is be an upgrade over what they have at wide receiver 2, which he clearly is. And if he's that, not only, okay, so he's not a 1,000-yard receiver yet if he's here. I can promise you DK Metcalf's numbers would be better, Bob.
And
if he had George
Freiermuth,
Pickens on the other side.
All those
100%.
guys. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a trickle-down effect to everyone else, and absolutely. And I don't think he would have been at least trying to have his best season, knowing that there's money at the end of this contract for him. We're due for a break. We'll take it right now. Come back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So don't go away. We're back. Want to wish Eddie Johnston a 90th birthday celebration. They had one for him tonight. And I was honored to be there along with my wife, Lisa, and he and Diane are just great people. And he's going strong for 90. Andrew, as you know, he's at every hockey game. He still is there scouting, whatever it takes. And it was great to see so many of his, former front office people, former players, and even Sidney Crosby, as he always does, one of the classiest guys you'll see. He was there all night long singing happy birthday to Eddie Johnson. So congrats on him. And, hey, without him, Andrew, who knows where this place would be hockey-wise, right?
Yeah, great point. This is now that point in the season where everybody checks the standings, right? That old saying in hockey is, when you get to American Thanksgiving, as they say in Canada, the standings pretty much are what they are. If you're in the playoffs at the quarter point of the season, you generally make the playoffs. And I think the Penguins find themselves just on the outside looking in with what went on here Friday and Saturday. So they got to get it back here Wednesday night. There's always a very festive night at the arena, that Thanksgiving Eve affair, and a very bad Sabres team comes to town, so a good chance for them to rebound.
Yeah, but they have some talent on that team. Tage Thompson's one of the best in the business, and that event tonight was at a really nice place, Ken Reggett's 31 Sports Grill. So all the best to Eddie Johnston. He's a tremendous guy and has a big part of Pittsburgh Penguins history. All right, what's happened to Pitt basketball? Real quick, you have 30 seconds, but I can't believe it. They may not win another game here for the next couple of weeks.
You cannot lose to Quinnipiac at home. I don't care what your injury situation is or what's going on with your program. You're in the ACC. You cannot lose to that team on your home court. And they were really never in the game, Bob.
Right. That team hit 11 three-pointers, shot 57%. Bad defense all the way through. Andrew, thanks as always. Appreciate it. We'll do it again tomorrow night right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.